My childhood sweetheart scored 20 points above the top-tier university admission line in the college entrance exam, yet chose to repeat the year. I earnestly persuaded him to attend a top-tier university institution. After graduation, life was prosperous, happy, and peaceful, yet, on the day his white moonlight married a wealthy second-generation heir, he drove me to our deaths together. When Mu, if you hadn't interfered, I would have been able to attend the same university as Han Xingyue, and today should have been our wedding day, so, he believed I was the reason he couldn't marry the girl he loved. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the eve of submitting my college application. Looking at Shi Shiqing's empty list of college choices, he suddenly turned to me and asked, "When Mu, do you think I can get into a top university if I retake the college entrance exam?" Upon hearing Shi Shiqing's deliberately casual question, I instinctively held my breath, as the fear of death washed over me. In my previous life, on the day Shi Shiqing learned that his beloved had married a wealthy second-generation heir, he disregarded my wishes and frantically dragged me into the car, speeding toward the wedding venue. I tried to soothe his agitated emotions to no avail, so I remained silent, afraid that provoking him might lead to some reckless action. In the moving car, he chattered incessantly about the admiration he had kept hidden in his heart all these years. "When Mu, she's getting married, and the groom isn't me. She must look so beautiful in her wedding dress. When Mu, if you hadn't interfered, I would have been able to attend the same university as Han Xingyue, and today should have been our wedding day." On impulse, he slammed on the accelerator and charged forward recklessly, causing a car accident at the intersection. At the moment my life ended, I felt so much regret. "Shi Shiqing, if you want to die, why drag me along?" It was only then that I realized he had done it on purpose. Shi Shiqing hated me intensely, treating me like an enemy and using every last bit of strength to make clear his hatred for me. "You stopped me from repeating my studies because you were afraid I would do better and end up with Xingyu. I know you like me. If there's a next life, don't stop me from pursuing my own happiness." It turned out he thought I was stopping him from repeating his studies because I liked him. How ridiculous. I was clearly after his family's teaching resources and comic books. Shi Shiqing's parents were both teachers, sparing no effort or resources to nurture him. Materials filled an entire room. Our families lived close by, and I often went to his house to play. What moved me the most was that he secretly bought complete sets of comic books. "Do you think I could do better on the exam?" Shi Shiqing's anxious inquiry pulled me back to reality as he nudged my arm. I glanced at the empty computer screen. He hadn't filled in a single university. After a moment of thought, I told him firmly, "Of course, there's no problem, Shi Shiqing. The path you've chosen is yours to walk to the end. I won't interfere in the slightest." My attitude, different from before, made him suspicious. He observed me with a hint of doubt and asked again, "When Mu, do you really think I can do better?" His intense gaze seemed to pierce through me. "Just do whatever you think is right. I can't study for you." Shi Shiqing turned his head away, pondering over and over again, reluctant to make a decision. "If I don't do well on the exam, won't I have wasted a whole year? Hee. I truly despise him from the bottom of my heart, a spineless loser without dang. It turns out he was aware of his own capabilities. This college entrance exam was the best he had ever performed. If he were to repeat another year, he might not achieve the same score. In my previous life, the moment I heard he wanted to retake the exam, I immediately offered practical advice. I even thought it would be easier for him to get into a top university for graduate school than to get into a top university through the college entrance exam. Under persistent persuasion, he finally gave up the idea of repeating the year and chose a top university within his reach. Back then, I thought he had great ambitions and would surely become a prominent figure in the future, but in the end, he failed the graduate school entrance exam. Now it seems it was just a convenient excuse to save face. In the end, he blamed all that he hadn't obtained on my meddling, even dragging me along to die with him. Suddenly, the computer emitted frequent alert sounds, messages from Han Xingyue. He glanced at me cautiously, and I turned my head, understanding his meaning, hesitating whether to leave or not. My college applications were still unfinished, and since I was underage, I couldn't go to an internet cafe. After much deliberation, I decided to wait outside the door. "Xingyue, have you finished submitting your applications?" Han Xingyue on the video call is Shi Shiqing's first love. "With my grades, I can choose any university across the country. By the way, where did you apply? It would be great if we could be in the same school." Han Xingyue's joy was evident through her voice. She was a true academic genius and was also very beautiful, making her the quintessential campus goddess. Every Thursday, classmates would dedicate songs to her over the radio, wishing her a bright future. She Cheng went all out for love, performing exceptionally well in the college entrance exam, but even so, there was an insurmountable gap between them. Xingyue, I have a surprise for you. Whatever decision he makes is his own affair. In no time, I had chosen my preferences, filled them in one by one, and confirmed the submission. My performance was stable, with no dark horses emerging, nor any underperformance. I was quite satisfied with this level, enough to get into a very good university in the country. Back then, my college life was filled with Shi Shicheng, and every vacation was plagued by his annoyance. This time, if only I didn't have to be in the same school as Shi Shicheng, I could have enjoyed a wonderful college experience. Of course, it would be best if he had to repeat a year. After filling out my application, I thanked him. Shi Shicheng, we will likely see each other less often in the future. Don't mind what Auntie said, and I won't take it to heart either. We both have bright futures ahead, so let's look forward. He seemed a bit confused by my sudden words. Shi Shicheng and I grew up together, but our relationship isn't as harmonious as it appears on the surface. The reason lies in the intense competition between our parents. He befriended me only because he needed someone to talk to. Due to both his parents being teachers, he had no one to confide in. Now that things are out in the open, everyone understands. No need for hidden competition. Shi Shicheng chuckled. Sure, in his eyes, I am an unshakable competitor, haunting him like a ghost. Without you, I wouldn't have made such great progress. Now that it's out in the open, there's no need to hold grudges. You are also a unique soul. Wishing you success in high school. With a slightly appreciative look in his eyes, I shouldered my backpack and went home. In the following days, I waited for my admission notice while taking my driver's license exam. During the previous life's vacation, I got entangled in the karma between Shi Shicheng and Han Xingyue, spending the entire holiday covering for them. Their graduation trip was kept secret from their families. This time, I will devote all my time and energy to myself. Shi Shicheng did not submit his university applications, keeping it a secret from his parents. His mother was unaware that her son planned to repeat the year, and had already been making arrangements for a celebration once the acceptance letter arrived. There weren't many college students in the small town, so those who excelled in academics were highly regarded. His mother was overjoyed, almost to the point of arrogance, showing excessive concern for classmates who had chosen alternative paths, essentially flaunting her son's achievements. How many points did your child score in the college entrance exam? A junior college is fine too. It's easier to find a job with a junior college degree, and earning money early is good as well. When she saw me, she used the same script. How many points did Mumu score? For a girl, having a university to attend is enough. It will make it easier to find a husband later. I never expected this outstanding teacher, who is supposed to be a role model, to say such things. I was left speechless and awkwardly standing in place. My mom quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Mumu did fine in her exam, as long as she's happy. First, we should congratulate Shicheng for being so outstanding. He's really amazing. Isn't he the best scorer this year? When we got home, my mom advised me not to show off in front of others. When others are hungry, eating quietly is also a form of politeness. The exams are over, you should rest well. The next day, my mother signed me up for a driving school. On the same day, Shi Shicheng went on a trip. Shi Shicheng's parents did not object much and readily gave him the money. Just asked one more question about who she's going with. Shi Shicheng publicly announced his girlfriend, and Shi's parents were overjoyed to see their son with such a smart and beautiful girlfriend. The two of them kept asking questions like they were checking her background, but Shi Shicheng didn't want his parents to interfere too much. Dad, Mom, I'm going to attend the same university as Xingyu and get married after graduation. Please stop asking so many questions. I'll bring her home to meet you later. Shi's mother grew jealous. They say a son forgets his mother once he takes a wife. But you're already pushing us aside before you're even married. Shi Shicheng naturally knew his mother's temperament and character well. Xingyue is the best girl I've ever met. No one can compare to her. She's as wonderful as you are, Mom. Drawing from her own experience, Shi's mother earnestly began to educate her son. You've just graduated, and you've never even been in love once. How would you know what's best? I don't object to you dating, as long as you have self-restraint. Shi Shicheng knew that his mother had tacitly acknowledged his girlfriend's identity. With his mother's approval, his father would naturally be happy too. Sure enough, Shi's father took out his private savings and gave them to his son. Just after seeing Shi Shicheng off, the teacher's phone call came through. Are you Shi Shicheng's parent? The student's scores have already passed the first-tier university threshold. Are you sure about repeating the year? Shi's mother answered the phone. the sound of repeating the year echoing in her ears. She hung up directly, thinking it was a scam call. By the time she realized it was the homeroom teacher calling, her hands were trembling with panic. "Hello, teacher, could there be a mistake? My son has excellent grades and can get into a great university. How could he possibly be repeating a year?" After confirming countless times that her precious son was repeating a year for love, she cursed Han Xingyue's ancestors for 8 generations. Xi's father was frantically trying to pull strings and contacted his son to come back immediately. The entire floor was filled with the Xi family's commotion, and neighbors who had previously been looked down upon were poking their heads out to find out what was happening. "Didn't your dad find someone to help you choose a major? Why didn't you apply? Has the deadline passed? Can you still get in through a supplementary admission?" Xi's mother anxiously paced back and forth. "Is it that star and moon that seduced you? They've led you astray. You two break up right now. Don't make me say it a second time. What decent girl would act so shamelessly?" I was riding my electric scooter back from the driving school when I happened to see a crowd in the hallway, unusually quiet compared to usual. Xi's mother was furious, storming out the door and scolding me as she walked. "Wenmu, are you also helping him keep it from me?" Bumping into me head-on, there was a moment of awkwardness. "Wenmu, hasn't Auntie been good to you? How could you just watch Xiqing ruin his own future?" My mother shielded me. "What does your family's business have to do with my daughter? Move aside." Xi's mother was determined to vent her anger, relentlessly scolding me for being heartless. As more and more people gathered, having watched the spectacle for a while and roughly understanding the cause and effect, they began to mock. "And you call yourself a college student? Now you don't even have a school to attend. You still have the nerve to blame others. You really deserve it." Mother Xi flew into a rage, completely disregarding her teacher's image, and immediately went berserk, ready to fight. Just at that moment, Xiqing returned. "Mom, what's going on? Why are so many people gathered at our door?" She clung to her son as if he were a lifeline, crying uncontrollably. "Son, hurry up and tell them you didn't repeat a grade. Your homeroom teacher made a mistake." Xiqing calmed his parents down and tried to persuade the crowd to leave. Only then did everyone notice the lovely young woman standing behind Xiqing, and they were even more reluctant to go. The Xi family's quarrel couldn't be contained even through the crack in the door. "I worked so hard to tutor you and use connections to help you choose your major. Is this how you repay me? Go find your teacher right now and see if there's any way to fix this." Xiqing shook off his mother's hand, his face lighting up with joy as he gently pulled Han Xingyue into his arms. "Let me introduce her solemnly. This is my girlfriend, Han Xingyue." Xi's mother was so furious that she felt a rush of anger. Her legs went weak, and she fainted. Xi's father hurriedly helped his wife sit down. Both parents looked at their usually well-behaved and sensible son and understood everything in an instant. You've really grown up. I'm already an adult. I've thought carefully about repeating a year. I must attend the same university as Xingyue, just 1 year, and after that, I will definitely achieve better results. Since I can pass the first-tier university admission line this year, next year I'll be able to get into a prestigious university, and my starting point will be completely different. I don't want to live a mediocre life. I'm still young, so I should strive and work hard to achieve what I want, rather than following the predetermined path you've laid out for me, living life step by step. Whether it's right or wrong, the truth will be clear in a year." Xiqing was filled with ambition, confident and resolute. Han Xingyue was quite appreciative and greatly inspired. "I believe in you. Where there's a will, there's a way." Why do these words sound so familiar? I must have heard them at the 100-day vow assembly. Hearing their words, Xi's mother finally accepted reality, but those who have been through it know better. Repeating the year isn't that easy, and she knows her son's abilities all too well. His current grades are already a stretch. Another year would bring too many uncertainties. She hesitated, torn between admiring her son's courage and worrying about his future. Since things had come to this point, she could only silently support his dream. Suddenly, the postman's arrival broke the tranquility. "Wenmu, sign for the package." "Who is Wenmu?" "It needs to be signed by the recipient in person." I nervously took the mail bearing the university's emblem, already guessing about 70 to 80% of what it contained. The mail carrier offered congratulations. "Young lady, congratulations on your success in the imperial examination." Uncles and aunts in the hallway kept congratulating me, and the mail carrier could barely squeeze his way out. Xiqing sighed as he heard the commotion. Xi's mother slammed the door shut with a bang, causing the entire building to tremble. Mom and Dad happily booked a table, dancing with joy. "It hasn't been in vain all these years of hard work. Don't cook today. let's go out and celebrate properly, without external disturbances. This summer is destined to be colorful, the news of Shicheng. Repeating his studies for love spread throughout the streets and alleys within a day. People who knew him and those who didn't had all heard of him, with mixed opinions. The class group chat was also abuzz with this topic. Wow, he exceeded the top university line and still chose to repeat. If I could score that high, my mom would be overjoyed. Does he think it's too simple? Even dogs wouldn't go through the retake grind. Respect others' fates. I heard that the more you retake, the worse you do. In a year, anything is possible. As long as I get into university, that's all that matters. Throughout the entire school, Shicheng and Han Xingyue were both well-known figures, to the point where even the homeroom teacher warned students not to follow their example. During a break from driving lessons, I was chatting with my best friend. Who would have thought that Shicheng would come straight over and confront me with a completely unfounded accusation? When Mu, are you just showing off, trying to disgust me on purpose? I was so hot that I felt dizzy and really didn't want to talk much. What's gotten into you? Shicheng was drenched in sweat, glaring at me fiercely as he spoke. You heard everything outside the door that day, didn't you? It was you who deliberately spread my family's business in the class group, right? You even tried to stop me from repeating my studies at school and break me and Xingyue apart. I clearly tell you that it's impossible for us to be together. My heart belongs only to Xingyu. I will definitely be with Xingyu. I took a sip of water to calm down. Shicheng, why are you running around here acting crazy instead of studying properly? Does it matter to me whether you repeat a grade or not? Does it matter to me who you're with? There were dozens of eyes at your doorstep that day, so why do you claim it was me who spread it? And it's not like I'm the only one taking the college entrance exam this year. Did you forget that your family had already made arrangements for a graduation celebration? Now it's not happening, so what's strange about neighbors asking? Moreover, the school is collecting information about students' universities and majors. Don't you know that? Upon hearing my words, Shicheng seemed a bit disheartened. He had never been left behind before, but now he was actually unaware of these things. Society truly is harsh. My best friend spoke up for me, her tone full of protective bias. Shicheng, you're quite the celebrity at school now. Everyone knows you. The homeroom teacher was deeply regretful. An outstanding educator who had taught many classes of students personally came to my home to understand the situation. Shicheng, don't regret it. The college entrance exam is the best way to change your fate, but you also need to know your own limits. Whether to retake the exam or enroll in a vocational college with good employment prospects and then pursue a bachelor's degree, think it over carefully. Shicheng simply wouldn't listen. My affairs are none of your concern. There's no way I'm going to a vocational college. I'm aiming for a top university. My alma mater will surely be proud of me. Until the start of the semester, Shicheng stayed home or chatted on the phone with Han Xingyue. Given the situation, he absolutely couldn't let his sweetheart look down on him. Soon, the intense heat will come to an end. I stepped through the gates of the university, because everything was new and exciting. I made new friends and learned new things every day. I attended classes diligently, read books in the library, traveled with friends on weekends, and occasionally took on part-time jobs. From being busy and fulfilled to not knowing what I was busy with, and then to work internships. I performed well academically and secured a recommendation for graduate school, but I really enjoy working. After receiving my internship salary, I bought gifts for my parents. Unexpectedly, I ended up sharing a ride with Shicheng. During his first year of retaking the college entrance exam, he enrolled in the best prep class in the city and, due to his good grades, had his tuition waived. There is also a substantial bonus. He bought a gift for Han Xingyue and felt quite happy about it. The original school was full of gossip and negative talk, almost like a cautionary tale, with many people looking at him as if he were a monkey. Shicheng didn't want to be pointed at and gossiped about, so he transferred into a cram school class whenever they had a break. Han Xingyue would encourage him and share the little moments of her university life. They were deeply in love, like a pair of star-crossed lovers. At first, Shicheng intended to study diligently, but how could the monotony of exam papers compare to the sweet nothings that touched the heart? Han Xingyue is intelligent, beautiful and diligent. Every day, her suitors gather downstairs at the dormitory, most of whom come from well-off families, boast outstanding personal conditions, and are humorous and charismatic. It's not that she isn't tempted, but she has turned them all down. The love potion she was fed in high school should have lost its effect by now. Shicheng, study hard, I'll be waiting for you at an university. Shicheng clearly felt his girlfriend's coldness, but with the vast distance between them, he was powerless. The intensive class had tight deadlines and heavy workloads, and Shi, who often took leave, was an outlier, frequently called in for talks by the teachers. His original grades were decent, but he couldn't expect too much special treatment. During the mock exam, Shi put in an extraordinary effort. He found that all the questions were things he had studied, and he was already quite familiar with them. He believed that with a final push before the college entrance exam, he could definitely succeed, and thus, he became even more reckless when the two were not on the same path. Academic performance was the only topic Shi could bring up as. The time drew nearer. Shi clearly felt the strain. The questions he once knew became hazy in his mind, and the ones he didn't know remained unsolved. So, Shi attributed his declining grades to the fact that he hadn't started studying seriously yet. He fell from the first-tier university admission line to the second-tier university line. Yet, not only was he not anxious, he even thought he was clever. When the college entrance exam comes, I will definitely be a dark horse, and then I will make everyone look at me with new eyes. At first, she was very angry, but later, seeing the outstanding results of the mock exam, she changed her attitude, thinking it would be even better if she could get into a prestigious university. In the end, she performed poorly in the college entrance exam, even worse than before. 7. Holidays for graduating classes are a luxury, so I haven't seen him since graduation. Sitting in the passenger seat, Shi's figure was bloated, wearing prescription glasses, his whole person appearing dazed and unkempt. With a stubbly beard, the confident and spirited aura of youth was gone, replaced instead by a diffidence that did not belong to this age. When Shi noticed me, his eyes revealed shock and disbelief. When Shi carefully observed me through the rearview mirror, after a long while, he suddenly asked, "You're about to graduate, right? Are you planning to take the postgraduate entrance exam, the civil service exam, or start working?" I calmly adjusted my mask. "I haven't decided yet. I'll take it one step at a time. I've already been to college once, so I started planning early, eliminating unnecessary efforts, and directly aiming for what I want." Shi clearly wasn't happy with my response. "Hey, the current environment is tough, and it's not easy for anyone, as long as you've tried your best and don't regret it." His words sounded eerily familiar. At that moment, Shi answered a phone call, and his tone instantly softened. "Mom, don't worry, I'll definitely listen to you this time. Whatever you want me to learn, I'll learn it. I'll do whatever you say." From his attitude of nodding to everything, it was not hard to see that Shi had already lost his standing in the family. Before getting out of the car, Shi waved his hand with feigned ease. "Goodbye, Wenmu, who wants to see you again. It's best if we never meet again." I kept an eye out and inquired about Shi's situation. And I was utterly astonished. Shi didn't get into a prestigious university. He's still a high school student. He has already repeated his studies 4 times and has taken the college entrance exam 5 times. During the holiday, his family was filled with maternal affection and filial piety. One day, Shi's mother came to invite the whole family to attend the college celebration banquet. The school name she mentioned was quite prestigious, but her low-key attitude didn't match her usual way of handling things. Shi was forcibly dragged to the banquet to toast all the relatives and friends, acting like a puppet on strings. At that moment, a student's parent who had been mocked by Shi's mother 4 years ago arrived uninvited. She offered the gift money with a slight smile, saying her child had also taken the postgraduate entrance exam and been admitted to this school this year. Asking Shi what major he was studying, the atmosphere became awkward for a moment. The question passed by quickly. What were they trying to demonstrate? Once the holiday was over, I continued with my studies. I told this story to my best friend, My best friend burst out laughing, finding my naivety adorable. Then we spent the whole evening chatting about this topic. Shi had repeated his final year of high school 4 times and still failed the college entrance exam. He and his girlfriend had already broken up. He enrolled in a vocational college, trimming the details to save face. In front of the neighbors. At first, he was full of confidence. "I'm aiming for a top university. I wouldn't even consider an ordinary school," until his performance in each consecutive college entrance exam grew worse. Repeaters already have a tough time, and with the added psychological pressure of multiple retakes and the Cold War with his girlfriend, he eventually fell below the undergraduate admission line. Many cram schools were reluctant to accept him after hearing about his repeated attempts. "We base this on the college entrance exam results, and you don't meet the criteria." In fact, the school is also worried that he won't be able to handle the pressure, and they can't be held responsible if something happens to him. He visited every high school, constantly evaluating their graduation rates, but the schools that were willing to accept him didn't meet his standards, and the schools he liked had requirements he couldn't meet. He became dispirited, questioning life with a naive student mindset. It was only then that he deeply regretted it, realizing that his first college entrance exam had actually been his peak performance. The chance to change his fate had been utterly wasted by him. However, he quickly regained his confidence. He was still young, and while the college entrance exam was hellishly difficult, upgrading from a junior college to a bachelor's degree should not be too hard. At least he still had his excellent girlfriend, who had never left his side. Shicheng wanted to develop his career in the city where Han Xingyue lived. Han Xingyue, with whom he had been in intermittent contact, had been unusually kind to him over the past few months, yet there was something odd about it, but he didn't mind these trivial details and continued to be full of ambition. I want to upgrade from a college diploma to a bachelor's degree, then pursue a master's, and eventually a PhD. I'm only 4 or 5 years behind my peers, but I'll catch up soon. Taking things step by step is good, but I've heard these words from you countless times, the same tone, the same expression, with no topics other than studying. What you lack now is far from just a little bit. The water in Han Xingyue's brain had long since dried up. University is a miniature society, where beneath the veneer of freedom and equality lies immense class disparity. Even if she had once been love-struck, that feeling had long since worn off. Back then, she had been caught up in the impulsiveness of adolescence. Now, facing the realities of work and life, she felt no guilt. She had already waited for 4 years. Moreover, she had worked hard to get into a prestigious university, not to listen to some immature person's empty promises. Shicheng was flustered, and in the end, the meeting ended on a sour note. I accumulated some work experience, learning while earning money. My mentor was very supportive of my work. This time, I started a company with the help of entrepreneurial subsidies and successfully operated it, because I caught the industry trend. I secured investment. My mentor highly praised me and often commended me in front of my juniors. This is when Mu, your senior, she started her own company at a young age, and you should learn from her. With the teacher's recommendation, I participated in the 100th anniversary speech of the school and interviewed a batch of employees. Everything was moving in a positive direction, but what I didn't expect was that Shicheng was also among them. I only knew that Shicheng had left his hometown, but I never expected to meet him here. Shicheng looked flustered, dressed simply, his hands fidgeting nervously. After the ceremony, I found a place to talk with him. You have become so outstanding now. You too. Shicheng rubbed his nose. I heard you started a company. Are you still hiring? Just send your resume to the company email, and HR will handle it. In the end, I paid the bill and left. While Shicheng stayed for a while longer before leaving, I turned back and saw his retreating figure, feeling a mixture of emotions. In your previous life, you were clearly a standout among ordinary people, living a prosperous and stable life, yet you chose to harm innocent me for a vague hope. This current life of yours is entirely self-inflicted. Shicheng's academic credentials were falsified, and he was not admitted. Han Xingyue remains as outstanding as ever, because she deserves someone better. She left the city where she studied to pursue opportunities in a larger city, and that led to a breakup. Shicheng has no education, no background, and has been repeatedly rejected in job searches. He does odd jobs here and there, then quits and stays idle, looks for another job, and occasionally spends at nightclubs. What good fish could possibly come from polluted waters? The thug introduced him to a new job, promising easy money with high pay. He knew that such good fortune would never fall upon him in this world. Shicheng had that awareness, yet, unable to resist the seductive allure of the neon lights and alcohol, he was coaxed and pushed onto the gambling table. After a few rounds, he actually won quite a bit of money. He counted the banknotes over and over. He had intended to quit while he was ahead, but once someone has tasted the thrill of easy money, how can they easily let go? He had grown utterly weary of his aimless, uneventful days. Shicheng went from being cautious at first to being completely addicted in just 12 days. He had accumulated massive gambling debts that he couldn't repay. He had no face to see his parents again. Shicheng felt like he had gone mad. He suddenly realized he had lost everything. He made one last call to Han Xingyue, but as soon as he mentioned borrowing money, she hung up, and he couldn't reach her again. Having no other options, he could only swallow his pride and confess to his parents. To raise money, Shi's mother sold off family assets and borrowed from friends and relatives, but it was still a drop in the bucket. After years of hard work, Shi's mother's body could no longer endure the strain. and she actually fainted. Shi Shiqing cried like a child at her bedside. He deeply regretted that if he had followed his parents' arrangement, studying step by step, working, getting promoted, buying a car and a house, marrying and having children, he would be in a much better situation now. When he resolutely chose to repeat a year, when he took exams in the repeat class, and when he saw his peers rising higher and higher, he always comforted himself with the promise of a bright future, but now, he clearly knew that he had no future. He had lost everything. On the day his mother passed away due to lack of money for medical treatment, Han Xingyue sent Shi Jiqing an invitation to her wedding. He had originally thought that Han Xingyue was a gold digger, married to an old man with money, but the invitation showed a handsome and young groom, not some rich second generation. Shi Shiqing, my husband and I sincerely invite you to our wedding. The past is already behind us. Shi Shiqing traveled a great distance to the wedding venue. The setting was simple and warm, and from the well wishes of the guests, he learned that Han Xingyue and her groom were a perfect match, both as partners in progress and as lovers. I don't know how Shi Shiqing felt seeing his ex-girlfriend marry an outstanding ordinary man in his previous life. What was it that prevented him from being with his white moonlight? I'm not interested either. The wedding proceeded smoothly and ended perfectly. I attended Shi Shiqing's mother's funeral, and barring some special circumstances, she was indeed very kind to me. The mourners were not many, and the conversations among them revolved around whether the debts could be repaid on time. There were also debt collectors. Shi Shiqing arrived in a rush, his eyes bloodshot. As I was about to leave, he suddenly grabbed me. Wenmu, you. He looked terrifying. Aren't you supposed to stop me from repeating the year? You're supposed to like me, right? Why didn't you stop me? He grabbed my neck and shouted, "It's all your fault. It's all because of you." I took advantage of the momentum and threw him over my shoulder, sending him sprawling on his back. Did you really think I was still the Wenmu who could be easily victimized? I am now the Nuhuru Wenmu. I learned Sonda in my university PE class and found it very useful, so I kept practicing. Never thought it would actually come in handy. Shi Cheng, under constant high pressure, had already worn his body down, and he couldn't even withstand a fall. I heard his words clearly and walked away without looking back. In my previous life, I advised you not to repeat a grade, yet you dragged me down with you. In this life, as you wished, why do you regret it now? Shi Shiqing actually had the nerve to blame me. What am I to him? It's simply insane. From then on, I never saw Shiqing again. I moved with my family, and later, when the house was demolished, we received a compensation payment. My parents traveled domestically and internationally every day. The only regret is that I never got married and had my own children, but they weren't in a hurry either. Marriage and having children aren't mandatory in life, but my precious daughter must have a child of her own. I carefully sifted through the sperm bank in my hands, choosing with even greater care. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I am the true heiress of a wealthy family, wandering outside for 20 years. After being recognized, my mother placed a family heirloom necklace worth hundreds of millions on my neck. Overnight, I went from being the envied genius school flower to a helpless fool. In response, my mother not only refused to find a doctor for me but also declared that I had a mental illness, locking me in a room and completely cutting me off from the outside world until, when my fake sister took the opportunity while mom was away, she took me away. Just as I escaped the house, I was struck and killed by a large truck head-on. She took the diamond necklace worth over 100 million yuan from my corpse, which was bleeding from all 7 orifices, her voice full of jealousy. I am the only true young lady of the Qiao family, and the heirloom should be mine. Why did you stay just because you're an idiot, Mom? Just go die. Only after my death did I realize that the fake heiress didn't want to save me. The car that killed me was arranged by her. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of the reunion. I turned around and handed the necklace to the fake heiress. Since she wants this life-changing necklace so much, I'll just give it to her. On the day I was recognized by the wealthy family, my mother gave me a diamond necklace worth over $100 million in front of everyone. Xiaoyi, this necklace is the heirloom of the Qiao family. Mother is giving it to you today as a way to make up for the hardships you've endured all these years. Qiao Ziyu, the fake heiress who had taken my identity for 20 years, looked utterly shocked. She tugged at her mother's sleeve, her tone tinged with dissatisfaction. Mom, you wouldn't even let my brother and I touch this necklace before. Why did you just give it to her as soon as she came back? The eldest son of the Qiao family, my brother and the fake heiress's brother, upon hearing this, also immediately realized Mom, even if Xiao Yi is your biological daughter, you can't be this biased, can you? Mom frowned, but before she could speak, I obediently presented the necklace to Xiao Ziyu with both hands. Brother is right, and all these years, it was my sister who stayed with Mom. The necklace can be a token of thanks to her. As the fake heiress reached for the necklace, her mother snatched it away. No way. Seeing our astonished looks, she hurriedly tried to explain. Xiao Yi is the true blood of the Qiao family and has endured much hardship. This necklace is a family heirloom of the Qiao family, so it naturally belongs to Xiao Yi. In my previous life, I believed my mother's words, deeply moved, and never took off the necklace. As a result, overnight, I went from being the admired genius and school beauty to a senile old woman who couldn't even take care of herself. The experimental data that once made me shine suddenly became a string of incomprehensible gibberish in my eyes. In contrast, my mother's white hair and wrinkles disappeared, and at 50 years old, she had the physique of an 18-year-old girl. On the first day the changes appeared, I panicked and wanted to see a doctor, but my mother stopped me at the door, insisting that this was just a result of spending too much time in the lab and being overly fatigued. She not only locked me in my bedroom but also confiscated all my electronic communication devices. It wasn't until later that I realized all of this was because of that necklace. Mom stole my appearance and talent through it. I wanted to escape, but by then, I had become a fool who couldn't even use the bathroom, let alone figure out a way. It wasn't until Xiao Ziyu rescued me. I grinned and tried to thank her. In the next second, she pushed me down into the middle of the road. A speeding car came and slammed into me, knocking me flying and running over my body. Before my consciousness faded, I heard Xiao Ziyu's triumphant laughter. Bitch, who told you to come back? I am the only princess in the family, and the heirloom should be mine. You're just a fool. Why did Mom insist on keeping you? Go die. Only after my death did I learn that the car that killed me was also arranged by her, just because she was jealous that I received Mom's favor. Fortunately, heaven took pity and gave me a second chance at life. Looking at the few people with different expressions, I lowered my eyes. Since you want this special preference so much, I'll give it to you. Seeing her mother take back the necklace, Xiao Ziyu glanced at me, her eyes full of resentment. Now that the real daughter has returned, I, the adopted daughter, have become superfluous. Her eyes reddened, and she turned around, covering her face as she ran away. His brother's expression darkened. Mom, that's going too far. Ziyu's already very sensitive, and you? He paused, leaving the rest unspoken, but still indignantly said, besides, didn't Xiao Yi agree too? We're all family. Is it really necessary to be so calculating? Mom shot him a fierce glare. I'm still the one in charge of this household. I decide who gets what, and you're not in a position to order me around. Brother immediately fell silent. At that moment, a loud clang echoed from the upstairs door. Xiao Ziyu, carrying a suitcase, walked down the stairs with a stubborn expression. She stood in front of us, looking at her mother, tears welling up in her eyes. Mom, I'm really happy to have been your daughter for these 20 years, truly, but now I should leave too. After all, I'm just an outsider who has overstayed her welcome. As she said this, she gave me a resentful glance. Seeing the fire aimed at me, I acted quickly and stuffed the necklace directly into her hand. Sister, don't say such angry words. If you like the necklace, I'll give it to you. Let it be a testament to our sisterly friendship. Xiao Ziyu excitedly took the necklace, about to put it on, when her mother's expression changed, and she rushed forward to forcibly take it away. The necklace was thin and hard, and the diamonds scratched her palm and neck, immediately leaving several bloody marks. It hurts. Her brother was startled and quickly stepped forward to cover her wounds with his hand, frowning in shock and confusion as he looked at their mother. Mom, Ziyu is also your daughter who you raised for 20 years. How could you hurt her like this? Seeing the marks on Xiao Ziyu's neck, her mother also looked worried, but she clutched the necklace tightly in her hand, not daring to take a step forward, and said forcefully, this is the heirloom of the Qiao family. It must be passed down to Xiao Yi. No one is allowed to take it. Xiao Ziyu's eyes reddened, and the tears she had been holding back could no longer be restrained. Give it to whoever you want. I'm just an extra outsider anyway. I'm leaving right now. With that, she dashed out without even taking her luggage, the blood still seeping from her neck. Her brother followed closely behind her. The brother and sister bumped into their mother, causing her to stagger. Their mother, unprepared, hit her waist hard against the corner of the table and let out an ouch. However, neither of the siblings turned back to look at her. When I fetched the first aid kit to tend to my mother's wounds, I pretended to be magnanimous and advised her, Mom, I know you're trying to make up for the grievances I've endured all these years. And I appreciate your intentions, but this necklace, my sister really loves it. Why don't we give it to her when she returns? After all, we're still a family." My mother gave me a dark look, then spoke softly. "No, this necklace must be for you. Xiao Ziyu is spoiled by me. You don't need to worry about her. Just take what's given to you. After all, you are my real daughter." I lowered my head and didn't say anything more. Indeed, I didn't, since I am her biological daughter. Why did she bring me back only to harm me like this? That night, Xiao Ziyu returned home with her brother. When she saw her mother on the sofa, she awkwardly looked away and went straight to her room. Her brother, on the other hand, approached with an apologetic expression. "Sorry, Mom, I was too hasty this afternoon." He paused, glancing at his mother's expression. "But you know, Ziyu has been rather insecure lately, and you treated her like this today. She's bound to overthink it." He paused, looked at me, and continued. "Anyway, they're both Xiao's daughters, so why not just, before her brother could finish, their mother cut him off coldly. "Anything else is fine, but this is not up for discussion. The necklace is for Xiao Yi only." Brother's face was filled with resentment as he growled in a low voice. "I just don't get it. She's your biological daughter, but why do you give all the good things to her? Xiao Yi is your biological daughter, and my sister and I are just picked up from outside, right? In your eyes, what are we siblings worth?" Mother suddenly looked up, opened her mouth, but said nothing. I quickly stepped forward to persuade. "Brother, don't argue with Mom, let me talk to her." My brother glared at me fiercely, muttered, "Hypocrite," under his breath, and turned to leave. I pretended not to hear and gently patted my mother's back to help her catch her breath. "Mom, don't be angry. Brother is just too concerned about Ziyu." Mother held my hand, her eyes unusually firm. "Don't worry, Xiao Yi, no matter what they say, the family heirloom will only be yours." Her words were sincere, her eyes full of tenderness. Fortunately, I had lived an extra life and knew her devious thoughts. I pretended to be puzzled and said, "Mom, why make brother and sister angry over a necklace? If your sister really wants it, couldn't you just give it to her?" Mother's face immediately fell. "I said it's yours, and it's yours. The Qiao family isn't so poor that two daughters have to fight over a single necklace. I'm going back to my room. I don't want to discuss this anymore." Seeing her impatience, I didn't dare to say anything more. That night, lying in bed, I kept thinking about the strange things my mother had been doing lately. I just couldn't understand why my mother would want to harm me. The next day, something unexpected happened. Xiao Ziyu, who was still sulking yesterday, is now sitting beside her mother, happily cutting apples for her. I am quite surprised. In just one short night, what happened? What caused Xiao Ziyu's sudden change in attitude? Suppressing my doubts, I calmly walk over and sit down on the sofa on the other side. Mother gave me a meaningful glance and suddenly said to me, "Xiaoyi, I thought carefully yesterday and realized that you and your brother are right. We can't let a family heirloom damage the relationship between you three siblings. There's a banquet tomorrow, and Ziyu really wants to wear that necklace to it. Would you be willing to let her have it?" I appear calm on the surface, but my heart is racing. Why did Mom suddenly change her mind? Is this a test for me, or does she really think that way? Seeing that I remained silent for a long time, Xiao Ziyu couldn't hold back and gave me a warning glare. I snapped back to reality and forced a smile that was neither genuine nor entirely fake. "Whatever Mom decides, I have no objections." Seeing that I agreed, Mom immediately gestured for the butler to bring the necklace. Xiao Ziyu's gaze instantly glued itself to the diamond necklace in the butler's hands. She couldn't wait to reach out and grab it, but her mother smacked her hand and chided her. "You've always been so hasty since you were a child. Don't damage the family heirloom." Xiao Ziyu wasn't annoyed by the scolding but instead stuck out her tongue playfully and gave her a charming smile. Then, her mother personally placed the necklace around her neck. I stared intently at Xiao Ziyu. After a long while, there was still no change in her. Xiao Ziyu lowered her head, her fingertips gently brushing over the sparkling diamond, her eyes filled with uncontrollable excitement. "Thank you, Mom. I knew you were the best." After giving me a triumphant snort, she went back to her room wearing the necklace. My mind was in turmoil. Could it be that in my previous life, my mother didn't use this necklace to exchange for my life? That night, my mother carefully entered my room. She took out a magnificent and dazzling necklace and handed it to me. "Xiaoyi, did you think that Mom didn't keep her promise and feel sad?" Seeing the identical diamond necklace in her hand, I felt as if I were in an ice cave, my fingertips trembling slightly. Indeed, she hadn't let me off the hook. Seeing my blank stare, my mother gently explained, "Silly child, the one I gave Ziyu is a custom-made fake, she won't be able to tell the difference, it's enough to placate her. She patted my hand and her voice lowered. Mom will tell you the truth. This heirloom is actually a symbol of the head of the Qiao family. Mom feels that she has wronged you in the past. So she wants to hand Qiao's family over to you as compensation. Don't let your brother and sister fool you. I feigned surprise on the surface, but inside I sneered. If I hadn't lived another life, I would probably have been so moved by this point that I couldn't contain my emotions, believing that she was truly sincere with me. But now, as I look at that necklace, it feels like staring at a venomous snake coiled around my bones. And all I feel is intense resistance. Mom, I can't accept this. Even more, then how sad would my brother and sister be? Mom is getting impatient. What's so hard about it? Do they dare defy my words? Quick, try it on. My daughter must be the most suitable one to wear this necklace. As the necklace came closer to me and she was about to put it on me, a sudden scream from Qiao Ziyu came from outside the door. Mom, what are you holding in your hand? I breathed a sigh of relief. But my mother's hand trembled, and she instinctively hid the necklace behind her back. Qiao Ziyu had long since seen through it. Her eyes were red, her voice trembling with tears but also full of rage. My identity is fake, and even the necklace is a fake to deceive me. Do I only deserve these scraps? She took a deep breath, her shouted words carrying the despair of someone who had given up all hope. Fine, since you all despise me so much, I'll leave now and never bother you again. Is that good enough for you? With that, she didn't even glance at her mother again, wiped away her tears, and turned to dash toward the door. Seeing Qiao Ziyu's emotional state, her mother quickly stuffed the necklace into my hand before rushing out after her. I casually stuffed the necklace into my pocket and followed them out. Just as I caught up with them, I saw my mother pulling Qiao Ziyu towards the storage room with a serious expression. Ziyu, come here and listen to me. Qiao Ziyu was wearing a magnificent evening gown, but her neck, where a necklace should have been, was bare. She twisted her wrist, her voice full of grievance and resistance. I won't listen. You don't love me anymore. If I'm just in the way in this family, then I'll leave. But she couldn't resist her mother in the end. Being half pulled and half dragged inside, I tiptoed to the door, held my breath, and pressed my ear against it to eavesdrop. Her mother deliberately lowered her voice, but her tone was urgent as she quickly revealed the truth to Qiao Ziyu. I clenched the necklace in my hands so tightly that it pierced my palm, drawing blood. So that's how it is. I finally understand why she wanted to harm me. Fool, I'll tell you the truth. You are my biological daughter. Qiao Yi's paternity test was fake. It turned out to be like this. No wonder. Qiao Ziyu clearly hadn't expected it either, exclaiming in surprise. Then why? Mother hushed with a shoo. I can't tell you the specific reasons right now, but just know that Mom definitely loves you. Inside the room, Mom patiently coaxed Qiao Ziyu for a long time before she finally calmed down and stopped making a fuss. Outside the door, I felt like I had been doused with a bucket of ice water, from head to toe. My limbs stiffened almost to the point of being unable to move. So, it turned out that from the very beginning, everything was fake, all a scheme. My heart raced as I silently digested this conspiracy. Just as I was about to turn and leave, a cat sauntered over to my feet and affectionately rubbed against them. I looked down at it, and my gaze suddenly darkened. A bold and crazy idea instantly struck me. Since you can destroy my life so casually for your own selfish desires, then you won't have it easy either. I clenched the necklace in my hand and decisively crouched down to pick up the cat and bring it back to the room. I picked up the fake necklace that Qiao Ziyu had thrown at the door, then plucked a few cat hairs and wrapped them around the chain of the fake necklace. Then, I casually tossed the genuine heirloom onto the carpet at the entrance of the room. I sat down on the sofa in the room, holding the docile kitten, pretending to be a natural accident caused by juggling the necklace while playing with the cat, resulting in cat hair getting tangled in the necklace. Sure enough, not long after, my mother calmed Qiao Ziyu down and came to knock on my door. She pushed the door open and first picked up the real necklace by the doorway, then she walked towards me, her sharp gaze fixed on the necklace in my hand, her tone tinged with probing. Xiaoyi, were you in the room the whole time just now? I looked up, my face showing just the right amount of innocence, one hand still gently stroking the snowball in my arms. Yes, Mom, I was just thinking about where to store this necklace safely when this little cat suddenly appeared at my door. I thought it was cute, so I picked it up and played with it for a while. Here's the necklace, I'm giving it back to you. As I said that, I pretended to hand the necklace over. However, when her gaze landed on the few white cat hairs stuck to the necklace, her movements paused, and panic and guilt immediately appeared on her face. I'm sorry, Mom, I forgot that cats shed so much, I'll clean it up right now. I hurriedly reached out to pull the cat hairs off the necklace, my expression one of near tears. Mom approached with a frown, clearly displeased. How can you be so careless, child? This heirloom is so precious, how could you play around with it like a pet? I apologized repeatedly with my head lowered, my heart racing with anxiety. Xiao Ziyu might not be able to tell the authenticity of the necklace, but Mother definitely will. If she discovers my switch, all my plans will fall apart. It might even alert the enemy, leading to even more dire consequences. I have to do something to interrupt her thoughts and completely dispel her suspicions. An idea suddenly struck me, and with a deliberately ingratiating smile, I looped the fake necklace around the cat's neck. But look, Mom, doesn't the diamond on this necklace match the cat's eyes perfectly? Why don't we try putting it on the kitten? As I said this, I was about to fasten the necklace clasp. No way, my mother practically screamed, her face suddenly changing color. She darted forward with lightning speed, grabbing my wrist with a death grip. Her eyes were filled with terror and a desperate attempt to stop me, as if what I was about to do was something terribly frightening. Her intense reaction startled me. I widened my eyes and stared at her, at a loss for what to do. Mom seemed to realize her own overreaction, took a deep breath, suppressed her panic, and forced a stiff smile as she explained, "Nonsense. How can we let a pet wear the Qiao family heirloom? It's outrageous." I nodded blankly, my face showing sad and a mix of understanding and confusion, as I sadly patted Shueqio's head. "Oh, I understand, Mom." But inwardly, I heaved a heavy sigh of relief. It seems I guessed right, this mysterious power of the life-swapping necklace works on animals too. Just then, Xiao Ziyu also walked in. Upon hearing the commotion. Seeing the scene before her, she raised the corner of her mouth in a half-smile, her eyes mocking as she looked at us. "Mom, since sister wants to see, why not put the fake one on the cat?" She glanced at me with a pointed look. "After all, it's fake, so it's only worthy of being on the same level as a pet." I suppressed the corners of my mouth that were about to betray me, pretending not to understand the sarcasm and provocation in her words. Instead, I followed her lead and put on an expression that showed I thought the idea was great. "Yes, Mom, it's like the kitten benefiting from the master's fortune, and at the banquet, we can have my sister appear wearing the real necklace and holding the kitten. How beautiful that parent-child outfit will look. My sister is sure to be the center of attention." Xiao Ziyu followed my words, thought for a moment, and then smugly curled her lips. She arrogantly raised her chin and then naturally extended her hand toward me. "That's right, you're smart, give me the real necklace." After she found out the truth, she reverted to her usual domineering demeanor in front of me, not even bothering to pretend anymore. However, all of this was exactly as I had anticipated. As expected, Mom hadn't told her the true secret of the necklace. After all, in her previous life, even when Xiao Ziyu was so obsessed, her mother never revealed the truth about the life-swapping to her. This must be restricted by certain rules and cannot be explicitly stated, and my mother, startled by my earlier reaction, seemed to temporarily stop questioning whether the necklace had been switched. At this moment, seeing that I was about to hand the necklace to Xiao Ziyu, she quickly stopped me again. "Ziyu, stop fooling around." Mother's voice carried an unquestionable severity. "I already promised the necklace to Xiao Yi. Do you want your mother to go back on her word?" Xiao Ziyu stomped her foot in frustration. "Mom, you clearly said..." "Shut up." Mother glared at Xiao Ziyu with a mix of disappointment and frustration, carrying me on her back. "If you keep causing trouble, don't even think about going to the banquet. Stay home and reflect properly." Xiao Ziyu was stunned by his mother's rare sternness and, feeling wronged, pursed his lips but dared not utter another word. Then, without a word, Mom put the necklace she was holding around the cat's neck. Then, she turned around, took the necklace covered in cat hair from my hand, and put it around my neck, and this time, I obediently lowered my head, allowing her to proceed, because I know, the real life-changing necklace has already been personally placed around the cat's neck by Mom. Mother examined the necklace around my neck, nodded in satisfaction, and her gaze at me grew even more affectionate. Behind that affection was the greed and anticipation of imminent success. "It really looks beautiful, very fitting for my little E. This necklace was made just for you." She patted my hand. "On the day of the banquet, you'll wear it. If you like cats, you can hold it then." To appear more approachable, I smiled, about to express my thanks, but Xiao Ziyu next to me wasn't having it. "Why should I? Shueqio is my cat, I've raised it for 9 years, why should I let someone else pair with it?" She darted over in a flash, snatched the cat out of my arms without a word, and glared at me as if I were an enemy. Her mother was very displeased with her attitude, her brows furrowed. About to scold her, I quickly reached out and touched my mother's arm, smiling sweetly and smoothing things over. "It's okay, Mom, so the cat's name is Snowball. My sister takes such good care of it. A 9-year-old cat must be considered quite old, right?" Xiao Ziyu let out a disdainful chuckle and replied boastfully, "Of course, Snowball is a purebred Persian cat, with a noble lineage. You know nothing, what a country bumpkin." I didn't argue back, just looked at Snowball in her arms and gave a meaningful smile. A 9-year-old cat is equivalent to about 52 years old in humans, which is about the same age as Mom. I'm so excited. What will this life exchange bring? The next 2 days were calm, but beneath the calm surface, there were strong undercurrents. On the day of the banquet, I deliberately went downstairs for breakfast later than usual. When I arrived at the dining room, it seemed they were almost finished. My brother glanced at me with a look of disdain, his tone dripping with undisguised sarcasm. "Oh, so you've really taken on the airs of a young lady now, sleeping in so late. Do you think everyone has to wait for you?" As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Ziyu, who was sitting next to him, couldn't help but let out an unrestrained, poochie laugh. Then, with a playful smile, she lightly slapped her brother's arm, her tone affectionate. "Brother, don't say that. Maybe sister just came back and isn't used to our family's schedule yet." The pride and provocation in her eyes were almost palpable. It seems that Xiao Ziyu couldn't wait to inform her dear brother about the news that I am not the biological daughter of the Qiao family. They are now truly a family, and I am an outsider through and through. The mother sitting in the main seat remained silent, her gaze locked onto me the moment I appeared at the restaurant entrance. I continued to feign ignorance, wearing a slightly embarrassed and apologetic smile. As I made my way to my seat, "Sorry, I overslept. I was so excited thinking about attending such an important banquet today that I couldn't sleep well last night." As I explained, I picked up my utensils and, as if by chance, looked up, meeting my mother's intense gaze. I touched my face in confusion, speaking with innocent curiosity. "Mom, why are you staring at me? Did something get on my face?" My mother's eyes flickered, and she forced a smile, though her tone carried an undetectable urgency. "No, I just wanted to see if you rested well. Did you feel uncomfortable anywhere last night?" I sneered coldly in my heart, but on the surface, I showed a pensive expression. "I slept quite well, the bed was soft, and it was very quiet around." I paused, frowning slightly as I gently rubbed my shoulders and neck. Then, I mixed truth with fiction to describe the sensations of my previous life. "It's just, I don't know if it's because I was too excited and didn't sleep well, but I feel a bit sore and weak all over. No matter how I sit, it feels off. Strange." Mom looked at me suspiciously for a while, as if trying to find even a single wrinkle or sign of looseness. I lowered my head and sipped the porridge in small mouthfuls, trying my best to avoid eye contact with her naturally. Eventually, she probably realized that the effect of changing names would take time, so she finally stopped pressing the issue and simply said lightly, "Maybe you're a bit nervous. Relax, just follow your mom." Tonight, at that moment, Snowball darted past my feet, slightly faster than usual. In the evening, as the banquet was about to begin, we were all making our final preparations. Mom didn't wear the originally planned backless evening gown. Instead, she changed into a velvet long dress and even draped a luxurious shawl over her shoulders, wrapping herself from neck to wrist completely. She claimed to outsiders that she had a slight cold and was afraid of catching a chill, but as I helped her adjust her shawl, I caught a quick glimpse. When she slightly raised her left hand, the heavy shawl slipped down just a bit. On the exposed skin of her wrist, there seemed to be a few barely noticeable white fluff. I suppressed the storm in my heart, calmly helped her pull up the shawl, and said nothing. Afterward, I checked the real necklace around Snowball's neck, adjusted the tightness to ensure it wouldn't fall off. I could feel my mother's gaze on me the entire time, especially when I touched the necklace. Her scrutiny almost became tangible, but I wasn't worried about being found out at all now. To ensure today's grand performance goes smoothly, I put in quite an effort with my makeup. Instead of deliberately covering it up, I intentionally added a touch of fatigue and haggardness. If I can deceive my mother into believing that the life-swapping ritual is proceeding smoothly on me, then, even if there are slight abnormalities, she will most likely rationalize them as side effects of the ritual and would not immediately suspect the authenticity of the necklace. Sure enough, my mother looked me over carefully for a moment. Her gaze wandered between my slightly haggard face and the necklace around my neck several times. Her tense shoulders relaxed slightly, and the wariness and doubt in her eyes were gradually replaced by a sense of certainty and anticipation. She stepped forward and gave me one last reminder, her tone carrying an unquestionable command. Xiaoyi, remember what your mother says, at today's banquet, your necklace must absolutely never leave your body, no matter what, not even for a moment, do you understand? I looked into her eyes, which gleamed with undisguised greed, and obediently nodded, offering a guileless smile. Don't worry, Mom, I've got it. I wouldn't dream of taking off such a beautiful necklace. The show is about to begin. This evening's charity gala has brought together many renowned entrepreneurs. Mom, with one arm around my brother and the other holding mine, gracefully navigated among the guests, her face adorned with a poised and elegant smile, and Xiao Ziyu held her beloved Snowball. The faint glimmer of diamonds around Snowball's neck caught the attention of several noblewomen who adored small animals, prompting them to praise it repeatedly. This greatly satisfied her vanity, and her smile was both smug and flamboyant. Meanwhile, her mother continued to introduce me to her friends, her tone brimming with pride and affection. This is my daughter I just found, Xiao Yi. She went through a lot of hardships before, and now that she's back, I must make it up to her. Every time she introduces me, she gently touches the necklace around my neck, as if it were a testament to our deep mother-daughter bond. Naturally, the guests all praised the beauty of the necklace and the generosity of the mother, but when their eyes fell on my face, a barely perceptible trace of disdain occasionally flickered. After all, although I looked good today, my complexion seemed a bit dull. In such a setting, I couldn't compare to my radiant mother and the strikingly vibrant Xiao Ziyu by my side. This was exactly the effect my mother wanted. She needed me as a reference point to highlight her upcoming rebirth. Halfway through the banquet, the charity auction began, and the atmosphere grew even more lively. As a representative of female entrepreneurs, my mother needed to give a speech on stage. She adjusted her shawl and walked gracefully towards the center of the stage. The spotlight shone on her as she spoke eloquently, her manner dignified. However, just as she reached an emotional point and spread her arms, an accident occurred. Perhaps it was due to the slightly larger movement, or maybe the clasp of her shawl was already a bit loose. The heavy shawl unexpectedly slipped off her shoulders. In an instant, a low murmur of surprise and whispers rippled through the audience. Under the spotlight, the velvet gown my mother wore was fully revealed to everyone. That alone was nothing out of the ordinary. The key was that under the intense light, people clearly saw, the exposed skin of her mother's neck and cheeks formed a striking contrast with the skin on her arms. Her face and neck remained smooth and firm, like that of a young girl, but her fingers, all the way up to her upper arm, were covered in rough wrinkles and faint light spots. What was even more astonishing was that on the outer side of her forearm, there were several obvious, white fluff hairs. Oh my God, what happened to Mr. Qiao's hand? What is that? Hair? Am I seeing things? Her face and hands, the difference is too big, it's like they belong to two different people. The audience below erupted in commotion. Mom also realized something was wrong. She quickly pulled her hand back, frantically trying to pull up the shawl, but it was too late. Countless gazes, some surprised, some curious, and some filled with malice, pierced her like needles. Her face turned pale as she stood on the stage, momentarily at a loss, her previous elegance and composure completely gone. Even her brother and Xiao Ziyu were stunned. Brother snapped out of it and rushed onto the stage, picking up the shawl to drape it over Mom, trying to calm the guests, but the situation had already spiraled out of control. As for me, I stood quietly among the crowd below the stage, gently stroking Snowball, who had somehow quietly slipped to my feet. Snowball affectionately rubbed against my leg, and the diamond necklace around its neck sparkled under the lights. I looked down at it. Snowball's condition is surprisingly good, with lively eyes, shiny fur, and agile movements, showing no signs of being a 9-year-old cat, especially its paws. The pink pads look particularly healthy and strong. I looked up at the woman on the stage who was in a complete mess, trying to cover that strange arm with a shawl. Her panicked gaze swept across the crowd and locked eyes with me precisely. A cold smile curved my lips. Mother, this compensation you meticulously planned to give, this motherly love you forced upon me, now, I've repaid you in full, with interest. Do you like it? The banquet ended in disgrace amidst the uproar and the piercing sirens of police cars. Under the spotlight, my mother's eerie arm formed a horrifying contrast with her still youthful and smooth face. This terrifying scene spread instantly across social media through the phones of countless guests. Public opinion exploded, with all sorts of speculations running rampant, from rare skin diseases to more sensational rumors of black magic. There was no shortage of stories. To prevent the situation from escalating further, the organizers had no choice but to call the police. My mother was quickly taken away by the police, who arrived on the scene to assist with the investigation. She tried to tightly wrap herself with a shawl, but that look of terror, the shame and indignation that reached its peak, and the eyes of those around her that avoided her like the plague, had already nailed her to the pillar of shame. Qiao Ziyu seemed to just come to her senses from this sudden and drastic change. Her face was ashen, her gaze first blankly following her mother, who was being taken away, then abruptly turning to me, her eyes filled with suspicion and fear. She rushed up to me in a few quick steps, her voice sharp with excitement. "It's you, Qiao Yi. It must be you behind this. What did you do to Mom?" I widened my eyes, my face filled with innocence and panic, my voice trembling just enough. "Sister, what are you talking about? I don't know anything. How could Mom become like that? I'm so scared." As I spoke, I subconsciously hugged Snowball tightly in my arms, as if seeking some comfort. There were still some guests who hadn't left, casting curious glances in our direction. Brother Qiao Zichen's face turned livid. He grabbed the emotionally out-of-control Qiao Ziyu and reprimanded in a low voice, "Enough, aren't you embarrassed enough? Let's discuss this at home." His voice was filled with irritation and helplessness, clearly indicating that everything happening before him was far beyond his understanding and control. At that moment, a police officer approached, his expression serious. "Are you the children of Ms. Qiao Wan? Please come with us to the station for cooperation. We need to understand some details about your mother's daily life." Then, the three of us were taken to separate interrogation rooms, facing the police's questioning. I consistently maintained the image of a recently reunited, innocent daughter who knew nothing about the family's internal secrets. I first expressed my concern and fear for my mother's health, my voice choking with emotion. "Comrade Police, what on earth are those on my mother's hands? They look so terrifying. Will this disease be hereditary? I don't want to end up like that." By the end of my words, my eyes had reddened, and I was trembling. Seeing this, the police softened their tone and comforted me. "Miss Qiao, don't be too nervous. We are investigating. You just need to tell us truthfully if you've noticed any unusual behavior from your mother, or if she has come into contact with anything special." I tried to look like I was recalling, then shook my head blankly. "No, Mom was very good to me. It's just, she was especially attached to this necklace." I touched the replica around my neck and spoke timidly. "She said it's a family heirloom and made me promise to wear it all the time. Never take it off. I really don't know anything else. I've only been back for a short while, and there's a lot I don't understand." I portrayed a victim with limited information, and overly protected by my mother, to perfection. In contrast, the questioning of Qiao Ziyu and Qiao Zichen was far more complicated. They were unable to explain the bizarre changes in their mother's body. Under the police's persistent questioning, they vaguely revealed the internal conflicts within the family, stemming from my return and the ownership of the necklace. They even went so far as to reveal the fact that I am not actually a daughter of the Qiao family, but this only made the whole affair seem more like a farce sparked by a feud among the wealthy. In subsequent investigations and trials, faced with irrefutable evidence, scientific testing, and the pressure of potentially more serious charges, Mom's psychological defenses finally crumbled. In order to protect herself, or perhaps to seek leniency, she had to partially admit the eerie nature of the heirloom necklace, acknowledging its ability to exchange lives, and she frankly admitted that she had been momentarily foolish, wanting to use this method to regain her youth. She set her sights on me, who earned a scholarship through academic performance at school, and being young and beautiful, tricking me into her home under the guise of recognizing a relative, but she firmly denied knowing the specific principles, blaming everything on the evil object passed down from her ancestors, due to the special nature of the case and its involvement in the supernatural realm. Ultimately, my mother was formally detained on charges of endangering herself and others by allegedly using illegal black magic. She not only needed to undergo profound ideological education, but was also required to cooperate with national secret research institutions to study the necklace and its effects, in hopes of finding a way to break or control it, preventing it from continuing to harm people. I know that the so-called reversal antidote is likely just an illusion. The curse of this life-swapping necklace is overwhelmingly powerful. Once activated, it is almost irreversible. Mom will spend the rest of her life with those old, eerie arms, living under endless pain and surveillance. This might be more agonizing for her than direct punishment, and the Qiao family, after this ordeal, completely collapsed. Her mother's reputation was ruined. Qiao Group's stock prices plummeted, and the internal atmosphere was fraught with anxiety. Meanwhile, her brother and Xiao Ziyu were inherently mediocre and utterly incapable of stabilizing the situation during the crisis. Moreover, as direct relatives of the occult manipulators, they faced severe public condemnation and were abandoned by their partners. Soon, under the joint removal by other members of the board of directors, they were completely ousted from the core of Qiao Corporation's power. The wealth and status that the Qiao family had accumulated over many years vanished in a short time. The once glorious Qiao family, a prominent noble house, completely declined, leaving behind only a bizarre rumor that evokes sighs. And I, using the crime my mother admitted to and the protection of the law, successfully obtained a fair compensation from the remaining legal assets of the Qiao family. I have finally completely severed ties with this family full of hypocrisy and calculation. After the verdict, I stood at the courthouse entrance, watching Xiao Ziyu and my brother emerge. Disheveled and spiritless, their eyes looked at me with resentment, yet they were powerless. The sunlight bathed me, warm and cozy. I took a deep breath of free air, feeling an unprecedented sense of ease. I returned to school and reverted to my original surname, Shen Yi. The shadows of the past have already dispersed, and my own life is just beginning. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.